It's everyone's favorite singing bowl. This is in my own personal set. It's actually one of the very first large singing bowls that I ever acquired back in the late 1990s. And it's been everyone's favorite. Actually, this was the bowl that I used to bring to my voice classes at the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco, where I taught when I was still in my late 20s. And this was the one that everyone wanted to touch and put on their head and pass around. And my students and my friends back then had such a good time with it. It was one of the reasons I got into heavily collecting and selling the singing bowls, was this piece right here. It's a remarkable antique singing bowl in the 300-year range, 250 to 300 years, I would estimate. It's in the later period, but it definitely has a few hundred years of wear. And that beautiful, I call the leopard spot patina. And I chose this one because it is everyone's favorite. And the topic of today's video, what is it that makes the singing bowls so special, especially the antique singing bowls, that nothing else really reproduces, and why it's not about the frequency. People ask all the time, and it seems everyone's focus is on what frequency the instruments that they're working with, the sounds that they're listening to. Everyone is chasing this frequency idea. Frequencies are healing your DNA, and frequencies are vibrating your cells, and you need the certain, planet frequencies or chakra frequencies or solfeggio frequencies or Pythagorean frequencies, color frequencies. There's all manner of frequencies that people want, and different tunings, especially. Also, let's not forget the tunings, which people really, kind of misunderstand the whole point of musical tunings. Frequencies are on a spectrum the way color is on a spectrum, that there are thousands and thousands of frequencies. There's thousands and thousands of tones. When you listen to a singing bowl, you can hear the low tone, a low E tone in this bowl, and the mid harmonic, that kind of nice steady middle tone, and that high harmonic that's a little stronger, and then you can hear even the upper harmonic a little bit with this bowl, because it starts so deep you can actually pick up 4 tones. So that's the audible tones that we can hear, and then if you were to measure it with a device, you could also pick up other frequencies that are vibrating. But we can hear those 4 frequencies. Most bowls you hear 3, and how those tones interact is the overall chord that the bowl makes, the overall tone of the bowl, and that's what really makes it sound in tune or not. So when a singing bowl sounds really nicely in tune, it's because all of those frequencies balance. But that's just the starting point. That's really not what the singing bowls are about. It's not about any of those tunings. It's not even about what I say about the internal harmony of the bowl, of how nicely those 4 tones interact. That is important. But there's something that goes way beyond that, that is really the root, the heart, the soul of the experience of being with the singing bowl. And that is the feeling of the bowl, the vibration of the bowl, the presence of the bowl. Some people go so far as to say the history of the bowl, the connection to the people who made it, the connection to the people who use them, who have ever touched them, and to the very act of them passing through time. Because if you think about it, these objects have been here through it all. They've been on this planet just sitting there doing their thing through so much history, so much time, so many years. And there's something that happens to antique objects when they go through this aging process. So what's special about the singing bowls, in my opinion, starts and ends with the antiques. New singing bowls are very nice. As you know, with my first company, Himalayan Bowls, I imported and sold thousands of new singing bowls and support wholeheartedly to this day the artisans in Nepal who produce those bowls. They're doing amazing work. They make the best singing bowls today that have been made in 100 years or more. And they are keeping this ancient tradition alive. One of the last handmade bronze objects remaining in the long history of bronze making, and this direct history of making these bowls for many hundreds of years. So it's a wonderful thing that they're producing them, and I love the new singing bowls. The hand-hammered singing bowls sound really wonderful. They look beautiful. They have their own, place in making an environment a really cool place. I think they're really nice. You see them in yoga studios and everywhere else today, and everyone loves them, and so do I. However, they do not, and certainly crystal bowls and everything else, I won't give them praise because I don't like the crystal bowls, and I've never said anything except that I don't like crystal bowls. And the brass bowls really are not singing bowls. They're just brass bowls. They're not any different from any other manufactured metal bowl. Crystal bowls, brass bowls, which are the vast majority of what all of you have and what everybody has for singing bowls, they're not even singing bowls, in my opinion. They don't have any of the good qualities that a singing bowl has, whether it's that internal harmony and the nice sound, the wonderful vibration, and what I'm speaking of now, which is a more subtle sort of spiritual vibe that they have. Only the antiques have that. Only the antiques have this wonderful presence, and you would expect that. You also wouldn't expect, a brand new building to have the same kind of feeling and vibe of, an old church or a museum. You don't expect, a convenience store to have the same feeling as a museum, right? It's a very different kind of environment qualitatively, and it's the same with the singing bowls. The antique singing bowls, which have been, treasured for these hundreds of years and are still with us today, somehow carry with them this feeling, this history, this passage through time. We know from the studies that I did with the archaeological metallurgists at Oxford who examined the antique metal down to such detail with the electron microscope, and the way they explained it to me is that the metal is slowing on a molecular level, and that it actually takes 100 years or more for the metal to really change its state to what they call a metastable state, where the metal is really slowed down. It's not agitated from its original manufacture anymore, and takes on a more brittle state, which may be all of the explanation for the wonderful sound of the antiques. There could be that purely scientific, very detailed, microscopic explanation that holds true, which coincides with the fact that it takes a lot of time for that to happen. It's something real that happens, that the bowls actually change and the metal slows down and takes on a different form as it ages and becomes this more brittle, stable, less agitated, less flexible, sort of less metallic. They become something that's in its own sphere, really. It's no longer malleable metal that's going to bend and dent and move where you could hammer it and get those dents anymore. Now it's this stable, more harmonious object that would break if you dropped it or tried to hammer it. If you tried to hammer this, it would break into pieces. So it's not going to respond the same way. Maybe we could melt it down again and reuse the metals, but that's really changing the state, and we're not trying to change the state in that kind of a dramatic way, right? So there's a gradual change in the metastable state that takes 100 years or more to happen. Or it's a connection to our ancestors, as one of my customers put it, who has a nice collection of the singing bowls and really treats them like one of the family, or like several of the family, because he's got a big collection. And that goes hand in hand with cultural beliefs and religious beliefs that people have around the world about special objects and special places being imbued with a spirit, having a real presence, an energy of their own, a life of their own, and being really there. It's really responsive, really alive, really doing something right now. Being here now, that's what they do. Produces that sound, that vibration, you get the feeling, it enacts something in you, inspires something in you, you get the energy of that vibration, and wherever it comes from, however you explain it, if you explain it in terms of the musical frequency, if you explain it in terms of the cellular action, if you explain it in terms of the cultural and religious significance, those are all valid points of view. The reality is right there, that it's these antiques that do something special, and I hope you all get the opportunity to experience them in person, because also how much goes through the computer, how much goes through these recordings. You don't get the immediate presence of it, but you still get an amazing experience. It's wonderful what can transfer over the, in this case, it's my phone. It's amazing what you can get through the recordings, as people know. But as the one thing that I've heard for 25 years when people actually get one in person is, wow, it's so much better in person. And of course it is. This is a real treasure. It is like a good old friend. For me, this has been with me for, in not too many more years, it'll be half my life. It's been a while, old friend. I guess 25 years, right, since I got this one, so